Ayy, look, yeah, ayy. I'm in the lab like Dexter, brand new batch he tested. I'm with all the extras, don't try and bitch, I'm pressure. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers.
We move on to Jamal Murray, the Jamal Murray conversation. Jamal Murray, is a guy who's earned everything, in this postseason run. A lot of people have been praising him, giving him his flowers. And so, my question is, where does Jamal Murray rank amongst top point guards in this league?
I think, for one, Jamal Murray had a very, very, very solid playoffs. I mean, he averaged about 26 or 27 on great efficiency. I think his shot making was absolutely elite in this postseason run. Big time shot after shot, especially in that Western Conference Finals versus the Lakers. I mean, he hit a ton of shots that were just absolutely demoralizing if you're a Laker fan. But like for me, where I have him is I think he's in the top 8 of point guards. I think putting him in the top 5 is absolutely absurd. I think it's unfair to guys who are considered number one options on their own respective teams, who run their offenses, who are the target of defenses, their entire focus, versus a guy who is playing alongside an all-time offensive playmaker, an all-time engine, a guy who defenses have to focus in Nikola Jokic. I mean, this isn't to take away from Jamal Murray's tough shot making and his ability to rise into the playoffs, but putting him in the top 5 versus guys who are the main focus of defenses, guys like, for example, Shea or Steph Curry or Damian Lillard, guys like that, it just doesn't make any sense to put him above those guys. I do think he is better than guys like, for example, Darius Garland, a Jalen Brunson, for example. But those top 5 point guards in this league, I don't think Jamal Murray is better than them. I have him in the top 8, and I think that is a fair ranking for him. But top 5 is ridiculous.
You said the last 2. You said Brunson and who?
Brunson and Garland.
No, I got Murray ahead of him.
Yeah, no. I said he's better than them.
Oh, okay. I thought you said he wasn't. Murray, he's. We count Luka as a point guard? I ain't counting Luka as a point guard.
He's a point guard to me. I can't lie.
No.
That's another guy.
He is listed as point guard, so
I mean, that's the LeBron James effect. LeBron kind of made a switch, and I'm not counting Luka as a point guard. He has the ball too much in his hands. Like, it's too much in his hands.
That's the point guard, man.
Curry for sure. Dame
for sure.
Dame for sure.
I don't think he's better than SGA.
Then it gets tricky.
I don't think he's what about this? Is Jamal Murray better than Kyrie Irving?
Oh man.
Because I personally would agree with that one. I think he's better than Kyrie Irving at this point, just because
we both see them as second options to the best player in the league before, and they both perform.
And the last time we've seen Kyrie Irving as a second option, in reality, was what, 2016, 2017? Is that fair?
I might put Jamal Murray above Kyrie.
I think it's
I don't
fair.
think he's better than these guys. I don't think he's better than Steph. I don't think he's better than Luka. I don't think he's better than Dame. I don't think he's better than Shea or Ja. Those are the 5 guys I don't think he's better than.
Ja, we might have to take a back seat too.
No, I don't think he's better than Ja, just because, like, bro, Ja Morant is literally the engine of this guy's team. Like, for one, he doesn't have the same level of spacing. He doesn't play next to a guy like Jokic. I get it. Jamal Murray's a way better shot maker, an outside shooter. But the thing is, though, Ja Morant is the focus of his team. Like, he's the entire playmaking scoring option for his team. His next best scorer is a guy in Desmond Bane who is a very, very solid shooting guard, but he is no elite option. He's no Nikola Jokic, of course. And Ja Morant's a consistent playmaker. He's a guy that gets the I just feel like it's unfair to guys that Jamal Murray's in such a sweet spot that he gets 20 points per game in the regular season, and comparing him to guys that average about 26, 27, the regular season matters to me. I 100% believe the regular season matters.
There's guys that average 27, 28 in the regular season, and they come toppled down. Guys like JB making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but he's over here averaging 16 points per game.
Yeah, the thing is,
He
though,
was
JB is a
close to
second
a
option, though. That's a
second
fair
option.
That's a fair comparison. You compare them to because they're both second options, and it doesn't make any sense that JB can consistently drops in the playoffs, considering the fact that he plays in such a great team like the Celtics. But like
But
he's
the way Murray wakes up in the playoffs is kind of different than the
like
regular season.
like
We
a
see him
guy
play
with
with
zero
Jokic in the
accolades
regular
in the
season,
regular season, though, like zero, like
zero accolades, and then he comes into the playoffs and he's over here averaging 27,
that
28 with 8
the
assists
the
on
regular season
30
matters,
efficient.
though.
I mean,
But
he's
the
got something
playoffs,
that a lot of guys on the list don't got now.
it's the same thing though. We see him play with Jokic in the regular season, all right, as a second option. It's 20 points, 5, 6 assists, okay shooting here and there. Comes to playoff time, it's another step, it's another level. He's coming over at 28, 29. He's dropping 35 points a game. He's dropping 40. He's going head to head with Book. He's going head to head with Ant. He's going head to head with the best players of the other team one on one, and he's winning those battles.
The thing is, though,
To
it's
me,
like these guys are showing up for 70 games a season. I mean, for 70 games a season, they're averaging about 27, 28, 30 in a season. They're playing like all NBA level players. It isn't fair to those guys just to put him a guy who is showing up for 16 games, which do obviously matter more than the regular season, versus guys that are showing up for 70 games. And if they do make the playoffs, yeah, maybe they're showing up, maybe they're not. For example, a guy like Jalen Brunson, he absolutely showed up in both the regular season and he showed it in the postseason. If someone said Jalen Brunson is better than Jamal Murray, I'm not gonna fight him about that. I'll be like, okay, that is reasonable considering what Jalen Brunson did for his team against the Cavs and what he did against the Heat. I'll tell you this right now. Outside of Nikola Jokic, Jalen Brunson was the best player that the Miami Heat faced in terms of the problems that he gave us. He was the best player, and that's even including Jason Tatum. Jalen Brunson was an absolute headache to deal with. So I feel like a guy like that, he's getting snubbed from these lists just because, like people are going so far to say Jamal Murray is better than a player like Donovan Mitchell. I just think that's ridiculous. That's just crazy to me.
hey man, they won that in the playoffs a couple years ago, head to head.
Like that's just crazy to me.
They was matched up guarded. Yeah, they was guarding each other. They went head to head. They was hooping. Yeah,
Hey, man,
you
put
can't take
50
nothing
on
away
him,
from
man.
Jamal. Hey, they came out that series victorious, man. I ain't gonna lie, but for me, it's the same way as when Jimmy Butler. We don't hear anything about him during the regular season. Everybody knows he's a regular season coaster, but that level that he takes in the playoffs, that's where people. Every time it comes to the playoffs, everybody, Jimmy Butler, he's that, he's this, he's a top 10 player. He's better than these guys. He's better than that player. Why do we compare him to Tatum? That's a people got in the top
Even
5.
then, though, the second half of this season, Jimmy Butler was an All NBA level player. He made the second team All NBA for a reason.
He made the second team. He well deserves it, but everybody knows him as a regular season coaster. But the level that he takes in the playoffs, that next step, it's the same way Jamal does. He should get the same shots. He should
Like
get the same.
like it's like we're treating these guys like they're Julius Randle. Like they're not Julius Randle. Like Julius Randle, like he's gonna show up for 82 games and 16 games. He's gonna be garbage. Like
But Jamal Murray averaging 21, 22 points in the season and 5 assists, 6 assists. That's not bad. He obviously
that ain't top 10 point guard. That ain't
That-
top 10 point guard production.
I don't know how much Brunson averages. Was it 23, 24?
Like 24, 25,
I think
something
he's
like
averaging
that.
like 24. Yeah, somewhere around
He was
there.
like 24. It's not much off, and he's the vocal point of the offense. He's the one that takes.
Yeah, but he's extremely efficient with it.
He's extremely efficient, but being the vocal point of the offense, averaging only 2 more points than the second option is not much.
Plus, it's different when you're playing with Jokic.
It is different with Jokic. Jokic creates a lot of shots. I ain't gonna lie. Big body motherfucker know how to screen. Let's get back to the list though.
But hey, Jamal Murray is special, man. I think people
special.
gotta understand that. People gotta respect
I
that.
didn't hate on him, but a couple, our guy Mustafa, he was on the pod a couple weeks ago. Big fan of Denver, big fan of Murray. He always used to brag about Murray being this guy, Murray being that guy, him being better than D Book, him being top 5 point guard. This is 3 years ago, before his ACL injury. So, for him to see it to fruition, Jamal Murray's a hooper. I got to give him my respect.
The thing is, for me, the way I judge players and the way I make these rankings for players in any position is, I'm not a big regular season guy. You guys know that. Yeah, I don't care about what you could do for me on a Tuesday night in Detroit.
Especially a team we know that's gonna make the playoffs, and it's like
no, but that's the thing though. Like for example, like you put your team in a
playoffs.
position to be a high seed for a reason. Like let me think about it like this. Nikola Jokic is the reason why these guys were the number 1 seed, right? He's the main focal reason. Like it got to a point.
Another thing though, because the year before they were missing Jamal Murray and MPJ, and they were a 6th seed. With those 2 additions, they literally jumped to number 1.
No, but Nikola Jokic
Just
is
like
the reason
that.
why they even stayed up that high, right?
Obviously, they stayed up that high, but
Yeah.
to say Jokic is the reason they're the 1 seed is crazy.
Yeah, when everybody talks about the
Not
Nuggets,
100%. Not 100%.
when
Yeah,
people talk
Jokic,
about
I
the
can't lie. Jokic is the engine. He's the engine to
yes,
the
he's the
Lamar.
engine.
That makes sense.
everybody's gonna look at these
He
team
ain't the full
stars and be
credit.
like, okay, this is the Bucks are okay. Are you gonna sit here and say Drew Holiday is the reason why the Bucks
Giannis
are?
is
Yeah,
the
you're gonna
engine,
say
but
Giannis. You're gonna say
guys like
Jokic. You're gonna
Brook
say
Lopez and Middleton, who not Middleton, but Drew Holiday showed
yes,
up.
they are important parts of the team. But you're gonna look at these guys that are putting themselves like, for example, what was the biggest reason why the Knicks were the 5th seed? Of course, it's a dual thing. It's with Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson is really the engine of the offense. This guy's the one that's creating shots
100%.
for everybody. He's the one scoring. These guys that are putting themselves in positions, like for example, let's just take OKC let's look at OKC. Shea coming into this season without Chet, I think these guys were projected 19.5 wins, something like that. Shea is the biggest reason why this team even made it to the play-in. I just can't put a guy like Jamal Murray, who has who gets the benefit of playing a guy like Jokic that literally can just carry an offense by himself that high, and he's putting up 20-something points per game versus a guy that's putting up 31, 5-5, and he made it all the way to the plains and he didn't make it to the playoffs. Like, that's just not fair to me. Why should by this logic, why is Jamal Murray not a better player than Damian Lillard? And Damian Lillard has been in the playoffs for about 2 years now. You know, I just think the regular season should matter. Like, it's gotten to a point where,
To me, Dame fools me in the regular season.
the thing is, it's got to a point where fans don't know what they want. Because on one hand, you have fans complaining about load management, and they're like, why are these guys sitting out? And the other hand, you have fans talking about only playoffs matter. That's the only thing I care about. Like, okay, so what is it then? What do you want?
It's tough, man. But for me, it's
I do think he's a top. I think at this point
like
now
you
you can
gotta
make a
at
case
the
top
same
20.
time.
He's top 20. I think he's top 20 basketball player at this point. And I would really argue right now that I think Jamal Murray is a better basketball player than Paul George at this point. Like, considering the fact that they're both second options, I think Jamal Murray is a better basketball player than Paul
Yeah,
George.
PG always been coming down my rankings, man. I never liked that dude. That guy just
That's just due to injuries, though, man.
playoff.
Not even injuries. I think at this point in even the playoffs, like,
We've
as a
seen
second
him
option,
in the playoffs, bro. He shines away from attention. He shines away. He plays horrible. We've seen the games that he has in the playoffs with OKC, with the Clippers. We've seen how he shines away and disappears. I'm sorry, like PG.
A Clippers fan have to beg Paul George to take 20 shots a game.
Yeah, the guy passes the ball a lot. He settles for 8 to 12 shots. He wants to be very efficient, but for him, you gotta go back to your original days. You gotta hoop like you're a pacer. Just let that shit go. That's it. But he doesn't do that. He wants to be fancy.
I mean, he does have that playoff P nickname for a reason, right? But I think I think Jamal Murray, man, like I was gonna continue on saying, for me, I just care more about what you can do for me in the regular season, and I care more about what you can do for me in the postseason. What you can do in the postseason is extremely important to me because that's when the lights are the brightest. You play all the best teams. Each and every game is important, so you can't take a game off like you can in the regular season. And so if somebody came to me and said Jamal Murray today is a top 5 point guard, I'll be fine with it. It's cool, because there's a couple guys you could put him over. I think there's definitely a conversation that could be held between a couple other guys that are close to cracking that top 5 as well. But I think as of right now, I think you go Steph, you go Dame, you go Luka. For me, I'm not too sure if I'm ready to put SJ over Trey, but SG or a trade for that 4th or 5th spot, or you could put Murray there, and then one of those two guys can cap out at 5. For me, I'm not the highest guy in John Moran, so he's gonna have to show me, man. So he could sit on the sidelines, he could sit outside the top 5. But it's interesting, man, because at the end of the day, isn't a postseason performer what you guys want? Isn't that what you want? Like, forget the regular season as a whole. Like, I think it makes sense for people to only care about certain sample sizes of games in the postseason because of what's on the line and what's at stake. In the regular season is cool, because some of these guys are capable of putting up 50 balls in random cities on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. Like, it's entertaining, but at the same time, it's like sometimes it's just meaningless at some point. Like, some of these teams are tanking; they're not competitive teams. So it's at the end of the day, it's just all for entertainment. But when the lights are extremely bright, some of these guys don't necessarily perform to their expectations and their standards, and so. Jamal Murray, a guy who's averaged around 26 points in these last 2 postseason runs, he went crazy in the bubble, and people were just saying that's he's acting out of character, and that's not who he really is. He comes back after 2 seasons of being removed from the ACL injury. Next thing you know, he's NBA champion now. And so I think although obviously Nikola Jokic is always going to get the most credit from this Denver Nuggets team, I think Jamal Murray plays an extreme role in this team. You know, even Steve Kerr said it during the series that, you know, he's the head of the snake. If the Miami Heat take away Jamal Murray, it's going to be a lot of problems for the Nuggets. And I think what Steve Kerr was saying was true. I think, you know, although Nikola Jokic is this amazing player, he's the best player on the planet, hands down. I think that Jamal Murray was the head of the snake for this Denver Nuggets team, because he was making everything go for them. When that pick and roll action works, it's just Jamal Murray leading the way. It's nobody else you can necessarily run it with. And so, you know, it's interesting, man. You know, obviously, you know where Jamal Murray ranks in the point guard ranking discussion is going to be something that's going to be talked about for, you know, this whole offseason, maybe going into next year, depending on how he plays. But, you know, I think for right now, I'm confident if people say that he's a top 5 point guard in this league, because at the end of the day, I don't care what you can do for me in the regular season. He's been able to show it for me in the postseason. You know, not once, not twice, but, you know, 3-4 times now that he's made it. And so,
record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Being out late now, that's overkill.